No, it's not. Not for you. No. What?
You know.
All right.
I'm wearing a mask.
Oh, that's spilled the coffee.
All right, we are with the Mishnah. No, we finished the Mishnah yesterday. Yeah, so we got to the Gemara. Today's Daf Lamed Hey. So Taner Rabbanan, we discussed. Good morning, you go. So yesterday, until now, we've had the Gemara, the Mishnah about the lulav, hadassim, aravas, and now yesterday we did the Mishnah on the esrog. So first, right, we know by esrog because it says the pasuk by kachtanachem pre biyom harishon pre eitz hadar kapas tomorrow, right? So Taner Rabbanan pre eitz hadar. So we learn over there pre-eitz. Why don't you say pre-hadar? What's pre-eitz hadar? So eitz shitam eitz of a period. Shavet, right? A tree whose branches and its fruit taste similar. Top of Lamed Hey Amud Aleph. Havia Emir is the esrog. That's referring to the citrus tree. The esrog. Vema pilplin. What about peppers? Peppers, we know also that the pepper itself, the peppercorn, tastes similar to that which it grows from. Ketani, we learn in Bryce. So, Rabbi Meir says, Lamed Hey Amud Aleph on top.
Yeah.
Rabbi Meir said, call eitz. So it says over there when you plant the tree, and the first 3 years that you need orla, right? You don't take it. Then when you plant the trees, you give it a rest the first 3 years. So it says v'tadam kol eitz eini de'eshu eitz machal. So I know that we're talking about fruit trees, so it calls it eitz machal. So matam eitz machal. So why is it called right an eitz machal? Just say eitz, right? So we learn from there. We dash there eitzitam eitzav upiria of shavet. Over there we learn over there that it's a tree whose fruit and its wood taste similar. So Havia Emir is that pilplin, and they learn over there that is referring to peppers. We learn from over there that peppers is chayiv and orla, right? Because peppers is included in something whose so the drush over there is pepper is something which its fruit and its branches or that which it grows from taste the same. And by the way, so it's not like anything. Right? It's not lacking anything. Even its fruits taste like its trees. Now, so we know there are two items who has these qualities, right? One is something which the quality of their fruit tastes like its tree. So one is the estrog, and the other is the peppers. So why, when we say Priyas Hadar, maybe it's referring to you should have your lulav, hadassim, arava, and your peppers, right? And your pepper. And we're not talking about those big peppers. We're talking about the little, the little ones. So hasha. So my answer is no. Hasna should have shar, because you can't take pepper for your dalamina. A small little pepper. Say, what do you do? If you're going to go ahead and take one little pepper, right? The kichasa. You're not going to recognize that which you take, right? If you go ahead and you take 2 or 3 peppers, right? So it says pre-8, so it says pre. Not 2 or 3 peros. Therefore, because right, we're learning something which tastes like it's fruit, and it can't be pepper because you really can't take one, right? Because that's noticeable. You can't take more than one because it only says you take one. So therefore, it must be referring to the esrog. Rabbi says another identification of hadar and esrog. It says al tikri hadar ela hadir, like a pen, right? Like where animals stay. Just like a deer has a collection of large and small and blemished and unblemished. So to an esrog tree has all of them. So I asked, other trees don't have this, right? They got big fruits, big apples, little apples, right? The ones that are good, ones that are bad. Rather like this. What's unique about the esrog tree is that the esrog can remain on the tree for a long time, even when the new crop starts to grow in. The older ones, the big ones, are still there. when an apple tree, they all grow and they all fall down at the same time. But esrog can stay for much longer. And Rabbi Vo, Omar, Al Tikri Hadar, Priyat Hadar, Ella, Hadar, right? Hadar. Davar Shadar Bilana, Mishon Lashon means that dwells, that lives, right? Something that lives there from year to year. The esrog can stay on even a long time on the tree. And Banazai Amir Al Tikri Hadar, Ella Idur. Call it Idur. Shechein B'Lashon Yavani, Karin Lamayim Idur. Because in the old Greek language, or in Greek, they call Idur is water. So Ve'esei Shegadol Al Kalmayim Haviyamer Zesrog. What is that which goes by the water, which needs to be constantly irrigated? And by the water, that is referring to the esrog tree. Fine. So now we identify the esrog. Right? So that was the right. That was the first thing, esrog. Okay, now we know it's esrog. Now let's go through the different halachas of our mission when it comes to the esrog. So we say shel ashera v'shel ir nidachas pasal an esrog of an asher tree when it was worshipped for idol worship or belongs to an ir nidachas is pasal. My time. What's the reason? So he saw earlier came to the sefakoi. Since it's supposed to be destroyed and burnt, therefore it's like it doesn't have a shear. It doesn't have a minimum size. If it has a minimum size, it is possible. Now we said orla possible. So my time. What is the reason why orla? Now, orla is now a new fruit tree is planted. So the first 3 years, we say it is completely forbidden. You can't use it. You can't sell it. You can't use it for anything, right? The fourth year is not the Ravai, that's something else. But the first 3 years is orla. So we say if an esrog is from the first 3 years of a esrog tree, it's no good. You can't use it for your lulav and esrog for the dalamina. So my time. Machlokes between Rabbi Chia bar Avi and Rabbi Asi. One says because there is no heter achila. Because you're not allowed to eat the orla. Since you can't eat the orla, so therefore it's not like hachtam lachem, take from you, right? It's not yours to go ahead and eat. Since you can't eat it, you can't use it for your dalad mina. Because you can't use it, right? You can't go ahead and sell it. Since I can't sell it, it's not mine. So that's the machlokes. One says because you can't eat it, and the other one says you can't sell it. It has no monetary value to it. Now, so the havmin is right now at this point that the one who holds that, if you're not allowed to eat it, he doesn't care whether you have monetary value or not. If you can't eat it, then he can't use it for esrog. That one holds. We know that if he doesn't have a din mammon, I don't care if you eat it or not. Nevertheless, since it doesn't have monetary value, you can't use it as your esrog. That's the havmin. They're both completely independent. However, that will be challenged. So Tanan. Shal truma temeya psula. So we say in our Mishnah that our puzzle. If it is truma temeya, that truma is given to the Kohen, it has to be eaten in betahara. If it is tome, you can't eat it. And by the way, if the Kohen has it as tome, you can't. It's puzzle. You can't use it as your esrog. Kohen can't use it as esrog. Now, why is that? So shapir. It works well according to the opinion who holds that if something you're not allowed to eat it, you can't use it as your mitzvah of esrog. It makes sense, right? Since you can't eat truma temeya, you can't use it as esrog. Shapir. But rather, according to the opinion who holds that there is no din mammon, that it has no value. Well, if something is truma temeya, there is some value to it, right? Hare masiga tachas tashilo. You're allowed to go ahead and do a truma tameya. You're allowed to go ahead and burn it underneath your food. You can use it as fuel. So you're allowed to use it. Since you're allowed to use it, according to that opinion, you should be allowed to use it for your esrog, for your mitzvah. So why is truma tameya psula? So ella beheter achilu kuli amali pligi debina. Rather, everybody holds really that you have to be able to. It has to be one is allowed to eat it, and if you can't eat it, then you can't use it as the mitzvah. So keep pligi, and when do they argue between mammon? When it comes to, do you also need it in addition to you have to be able to eat it, you also have to have a monetary value. One holds that you have to be able to eat it, and you have to allow to be able to use it. It has a monetary value. And since it has value, I could sell it. Therefore, I can use it as lakachtam lachem. I can use it for my mitzvah of esrog. Mar Sober, and the other opinion holds, no, din mama nami, but The other one holds that no, I also have to have din mammon. In other words, one holds, I don't care. As long as I can eat it, I can use it in my mitzvah. The other one holds, no, you have to be able to eat it and also be able to own it. All right, we'll see what the nafkin is. So my benayu. So what's nafkin? What is there something that I'm allowed to eat, but I don't own? Right? What is such a concept? So the answer is my benayu. So ika benayu ma'aser sheni shebushalayim. Aliba derabi meir. So ma'aser sheni. Right, so Meister Rishon, you go ahead and give to the Levi. Meister Sheni, what do you do, Meister Sheni? So it depends on the year, right? So years 1, 2, 4, 5. Yeah, I should have skipped my mind 3. Right. So 3 and 6. Right. So 1, 2, 4, and 5. You go ahead, you take your food to Yerushalayim and eat it there. All right, that's the main halacha, right? You can redeem it, bring money there, fine. You take it and eat it there. When I go ahead and eat it there, what is the stance? Is it my food or is it Hashem's food? According to Rav Meir, it's machlokes. Rav Meir holds it's mammon gavoa. It's Hashem's food. I'm allowed to eat it. He's the heter to eat it, but it's Hashem's. So there's different nafkaminas. It's not mine anymore. I don't own it. According to Chachamim, you own it and then you eat it in Yerushalayim. Now, according to Rav Meir, I'm not allowed to own it, but I can eat it.
No, you own it when you're in Yerushalayim.
Right, but it's called mammon. But it's called mammon gavoa. It's called mammon gavoa. Because that's how it was given, but I don't own it, according to our mayor. There's other different math. So this is an after meaning right here. This estrog, I'm in Yerushalayim, I bring it there.
Right.
I don't own it, but I can eat it. Can I use it as the mitzvah?
Okay.
So that's an after meaning. I'll leave it to Rameir. According to Pinu holds that if you're allowed to eat something, you can use that as estrog. I can eat it.
You're really not owning it at all.
According to our mayor, right? And and according to the opinion holds that the mammon is ma'aser sheni is you have to own it. You have to have a monetary ownership in this item in order to be able to use it for your esrog. Since I don't have a monetary ownership of this item, it's mammon gaboa. Therefore, according to that opinion, I wouldn't be able to use ma'aser sheni esrog as my dalamim. At this time, the Rabbi Asi. Let's actually learn that Rabbi Asi, he was the one, the Amar, the Fishemba din Mammon. There's a Mammon, the Rabbi Asi, Esok Shal Meister Sheni, the Divrei Meir, Esok according to Meister Sheni. Ein Adam Yaitse Ba Yidei Chavas B'Yantif. You can't fill your obligation Yantif. What he said, because according to Rabbi Meir, is because it's owned by Hashem, right? And the Divrei Chachamim, according to Chachamim, since it's considered to be Mammon of the individual, Adam Yaitse Ba Yidei Chavas B'Yantif. A person can't fulfill his obligation, so tis time. So it does make sense because you said it was a machlokes between Reb Chia and Reb Asi. We didn't know who was who, and it's logical to say that Reb Asi was the one who said he has to have a din mammon. So Gufa, Reb Asi, Esok Shal Meiser Sheni, the Esrog of Meiser Sheni, the Divrei Reb Meir, according to Reb Meir, Ein Adam Yaitze B'Yidei Chavas B'Yantif. A person cannot fill his obligation of Dalet Minim with an esrog of Meiser Sheni, as he said earlier, because it's owned, it's not his, it's Mammon Gavon. The Divrei Chachamim, according to Chachamim, Adam Yaitze Ba Yidei Chavas, a person can't fill his obligation, the Yantif.
Only in Yerushalayim, even Divrei Chachamim.
Yeah, because it's Heter Achila, right?
What is din mammon mean?
So, in other words, I guess, it knows who owns it. In other words, the point is it has to be in Yerushalayim. Right, but do I have a monetary ownership of it?
What does that mean?
You can't sell it.
So
No, you don't sell it. You just eat it in Yerushalayim.
Right, you can't sell it. Or
You give it to your son to open kollel in Yerushalayim. You can do that.
Right. So one of the big nafkaminas is if you're allowed to marry somebody, use that as kesef kedushin. So kesef kedushin, in order to marry a woman, I have to give her something of mine.
Right.
So if I try and marry a woman, right, with that, so do I own it? If I own it, I can marry her with it. According to a mayor, that's according to Chachamim.
Right.
According to a mayor, you would not be able to marry her. So that's not for me to give in the Gemara over there. Right. But there is no machlokes in terms of whether you can eat it or not, or where you can eat it. That's all the same. It's just who technically owns it. So and if I technically own it, I can do it. I can give it to
you know,
right.
it's like your stock. You really don't own it, but you can give it to whoever you want. You don't own it. I mean, it's more or less.
Right.
It's more or less. You know, it's
What?
Why is it? Why is my place that you don't own it, but you own it, and you could bring it on?
Because the pasuk said "Lakachtem lachem, yishalachem." It has to be of yours. Now, similar to the estrog, says matzah shel ma'aser sheni. Matzah on Pesach is ma'aser sheni. The wheat was from there. So divrei Rameir, a person can't fill his obligation of motzi matzah with that. We'll soon see why. The divrei a person can't fill his obligation of Pesach. And Isa shel ma'aser sheni. Now, when it comes to dough, one person separate challah. So if there's a dough ma'aser sheni, the divrei Meir according to a mayor, since it's owned by Hashem, so owned by Hashem doesn't require challah. So p'tur min challah, he's p'tur min challah. Divrei chachamim, since I own it, chayav is b'challah. You have to give challah. Now, Masker Rav Papa says, I don't understand what's going on here. Bishlama Isa, I understand why dough, the halacha was that way, Pater Chai, the pasuk says, Reishis Arisa Seichem, right? The first of your dough, you have yours, right? Since it's yours, if it's not yours, if it's Hashem's, I don't have to give challah. And Esrog Nami, Siv Lachem, Bishalachem, right? It says by Esrog, it has to be of yours. Ella Matzah, but Matzah, Big C, matzah. Does it say your matzah? You have to eat your matzah. You have to own it. It has to be part of your money, right? We learn Xer Shava of lechem between matzah and challah and bread, right? It says over there, ksiv hacha lechem oni. It says by matzah, it says lechem oni. It says lechem. Ksiv hacha says over there, v'haya. When you eat from the bread of the land, just like over there, the isa, the dough has to be from yours, and it can't be a meiser sheni afkan. So to the matzah, because it says lechem lechem, mishlachem lemishal meiser. So to the matzah that you eat cannot be that of meiser sheni. So Gemara says, lema mesaile. Let's suggest that this following bryce is a proof. So Isa shel ma'aser sheni p'tur min challah divrei Meir. That Isa of ma'aser sheni is p'tur min challah according to Meir because he holds his mammon gavola and it's not lachem, right? And right lechem, the lechem is not lachem, right? The chachamim oimrim chayev is b'challah. Chachamim say you're chayiv in challah because you own it. As far as this layman Messiah, I understand. Let's suggest that this is a proof. This is exactly what we're talking about. Of course, it's a proof. It's identical. What we just been saying was it. Lema Saile usually means like if you learn it this way, it can be a proof, right? See it this way, but this is black and white. So Ella midha pligi, right? Rather in this case, because they have the machloikas in the case of Isa, when it comes to the dough, banama pligi, do we say the same machloikas in terms of depends who owns it according to Rameir or Chamim would be the same when it comes to estrog or matzah. Aduma shani Isa, maybe Isa is different. Maybe it's a special pasuk. It has to be yours in order to be chayav challah. The pasuk says aristo seichem tracy. Since it says aristo seichem twice, so therefore maybe that's more of a reason why it has to be your dough. But maybe when it comes to estrog, when it comes to matzah, maybe it doesn't necessarily have to be yours, right? And therefore maybe kesem ma'aser sheni would be okay. So that's why maybe it's only a shtickle of a proof. Fine. Shel Truma, then the Mishnah says, Shel Truma Tamei Psula. So now we're going to go through some concepts that we saw, or that we just already mentioned. If it is Truma Tameya, which we saw is something that given to the Kohen becomes tummy, they can't eat anymore. So it's no good. Why? The last bay heter achila, right? Because you're not allowed to go ahead and eat it. Since you can't eat it, you can't use it for the mitzvah of dalaminim. The Shel Truma Tahira lo yito. And we said by Truma Tahira, if it's your Truma, you shouldn't use it. But if you use it, it's okay. So first it says Shel Truma Tahira lo yito. You should use it. Why? So pligi bar Rabami Rabasi. So machlokes in Rabami Rabasi, we're going to see this a couple times. Chad Omar miplei shemach shira. One is because usually with the estrog, right, we go ahead and we put in our fridge our dalaminim, right, in order to preserve them so they don't go bad. So they used to go ahead and put it in water. So when you put food in water, it makes it susceptible to tuma, right? And then everyone touches it, so it becomes tame. One is not allowed to lechatchila go ahead and make truma tame. So since we do not want the estrog to come in contact with water, become tame. So if it's truma, we don't want you to use it. So that's the reason. So one says it's shemach shira, because it's machshila tuma. The chadom and the open hold miplei shemach siba. Because when you use it over and over, then some of it goes bad, right? And when some of it goes bad, then you're basically making truma go bad, which a person's ought to be mafsik. So my benayu was not. If you go on shikara la shem chutz mikli pasa, maybe a person makes his esrog truma besides the outer shell. Lamandi, chutz mikupasa chitzon. So the outer shell. Lamandi, b'nei shvach shira. According to opinion is holy. It's sedantal tuma. It gets moist in it. There is ika. It applies. Lamandi, b'nei shvach sida. Like according to the other opinion, who holds that that truma, he's making truma go bad. That doesn't apply here because the outer layer doesn't have the kedusha of truma, only the inside layer. And you have to understand how a person can make only the outside, not truma, but everything else inside. Fine, it's another discussion, but we'll take that as an assumption. But he said, if he takes, so one shouldn't do it because we don't want to lose truma. We don't make truma tmeya. But if one does, if he not share it, lamaisi he has to fill his obligation. So according to opinion holds, why does he fill the obligation? Because if one is allowed to, if you need, he has to be able to eat it. One is allowed to go ahead and eat truma tahara. Right? And the one who holds that you can't use an esrog if you don't own it. A person does own his truma, even if it's tamei, but this case is tar, so certainly he owns it. Therefore, that's the reason why he would fulfill his obligation. B'shel demai. Also, an esrog of demai, right? It was purchased from an amaretz, so you have to go ahead and take Meiser once again, because we don't trust the Amaris that he acted appropriately and took a tenth for Trumas Meisers or for Meiser. So therefore you have to go redo it. And before you redo it, that whole crop that you take is called Demai. So if you take an Esrog from there without taking the Meiser again, you shouldn't do it. So my time to Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel says, what does Beis Hillel say? Beis Hillel said, when it comes to Demai, right, it says Beis Shammai posted Beis Hillel Machshir. So Beis Hillel says, okay, my time to Beis Hillel, since a person is able to go ahead and now Demai is permitted for a poor person. So is it permitted for a poor person? So, okay, you're not poor, but he can make himself poor. He can say all his property is hefker. Whoever wants it, up for grabs, right? And since he can do that, and he would make himself an ani, and when he's a poor person, then Demai is fit for him. Therefore, it's called like his. That's not. We learn in the Mishnah, Demai, you can go ahead, and if you're hosting people or poor people, you can go ahead and feed them Demai. Beis Shammai, and Beis Shammai would say, ani lo achil Demai, right? No, a poor person should not eat Demai. It's not. Ein machilin hanim demai v'sachsan. So machilin hanim demai v'sachsan demai. One can go ahead and feed demai to if he's hosting or poor people. V'amar Rav Huna, and then Rav Huna says no. Tana Beis Shammai Omrim.
It's a rule of thumb always machshir demai, right? Versus
So Beis Hillel, yes.
They always say okay.
Yeah, they usually make right. They usually make
most of the time in the Gemara, right?
Right.
Okay.
And over here. And Rav Huna quotes now, Tana Beis Shammai Omrim ein machlis hanim v'sachsani demai, Beis Hillel machlis hanim demai v'sachsani demai. So Beis Hillel says the allowed feed of demai, and Beis Shammai says you can't because poor person can't. And Beis Hillel, since you can feed a poor person and you can make yourself poor, therefore the esrog would be okay. Fine. Shel Meiser Sheni Shiv Yushalayim. Also Meiser Sheni, which we discussed earlier in Yushalayim. So you shouldn't use it, right? You shouldn't use it. Why? So one should not get Meiser Sheni Yushalayim Tameh. So therefore, if you're going to use your esrog, you're going to put it in water and it can make it susceptible to tumah. Therefore, you should use it as your esrog. According to the opinion who holds that when you use esrog over and over, some of it might go bad. We don't want your Meiser Sheni to go bad. Therefore, you shouldn't use it as esrog. But if you use it, if you do use it, it's kosher. So why is that? According to opinion who holds that in order to be fulfilled the mitzvah, I have to be able to go ahead and eat this item. That works. Right? According to everybody. And according to opinion holds that you have to monetary own it. Hamani, whose opinion is this? This is the Rabbani. This is Rabbani because you own, according to the Rabbani, we said earlier, one does own Kesef Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim. Right. According to only according to Rabbanan, it's good. But according to Rameir, he would not agree with that Mishnah. Rameir would say, no, you can't use it as your esrog, even Meiser Sheni in Yerushalayim. Now we get to the physical esrog itself. So also chazis, right? These boils on it begin to form on it. So we said on the majority it's no good. So Rav Chisda Dovar Zeh Rabbeinu Gadol Amru. So this was what Rav said, and Amakim El Ezro, right? And Hashem should bless him. Leishanu El b'Makam Echad. We're only talking about if it's in one spot. Is kosher. If it's 2 or 3 spots, it has these chazis, these boils, it's okay. So Amalei Rava said, Adarabba. I understand if it's 2 or 3 places, it's like a spotted esrog, it should be no good at all. Rather, that which Rav said was really going to the Seifa. Now, what did they say in the Seifa? Hamiyota kosher. It says if you only have some of these little boils and a minority of it, then it's kosher. And Amr Rav Chizda, Davar Zer Rabbeinu Agadol, Amr Rav Makom Yevazah, and this Rav said, only if the minority is in one spot. So we have a minority in several different spots. They get a spotted esrog and it would be possible. And Amar Rava, and Rava says, the al chaytmo, the afil mashu nami pasul, and on the chaytmo, right? On the chaytmo, therefore people are very careful. The chaytmo means literally the nose, right? Most, at least, the Mishnah Berurah is referring to like the top third. The top third of the esrog is more important. So if there's any sort of afil, even mashu, that doesn't have to be boils on majority, right? It can even be one spot on minority, even one spot, and as long as it's the top. So the machlok is actually what is the chotmo, right? What is the But I think there's a picture of that, right? I know I'm pretty sure the Mishnah Berurah holds is top third, but fine. And finally, natla ptimaso. If its pitum was taken, so Tana Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar natla buchnaso. Right, it's buchnaso was taken. The buchnaso is referring to its pestle. Now, there is a picture of the pitum in there, but according to the way Rashi learns it here, right? So on the pitum, you have like a little stem with a little bud on top, right? So according to Rashi, it means the entire stem was pulled out. That was pulled out, not the bud. Others hold that even the bud, right? Even the bud comes off. So it's machlokes rishonim as to what the pitum means if it's removed. Others learn it's even referring to the bottom, not the top. So, but over here, this is also big. It's funny. It's just one line. You think people are always looking for the strogan, the pitum. Not this. You see it's like 5 block Gemara, right? So it's one case over here. So it says natla buchnaso. That would referring to its pitum is gone. Is referring to its buchnaso. Its pestle is removed from it, which would be the entire amount. All right, we'll stop here before it gets appealed. Shkoyach, everybody. Everybody have a wonderful day, and we will reconvene tomorrow. Shkoyach.